Hello again, everyone. I'm back to give you a few updates on items of interest from the IOF office, things that have happened in the recent past and things that we think that is good for organizers and event advisors and so on to be aware of as we go forward. These are the things that I'll go through, a few just updates and just to let you know who in the organization does what. Then we have some important information about the Court of Arbitration of Sport ruling on the arbitration between WADA and RUSADA. It affects Russian participation and at major events, so I think it's good to go through that. We have a new IOF clothing partner and just some brief information about them. Just a few IT updates. Then we just wanted to remind you about the athletes license handling for organizers for the year that's coming. A little bit about event advisor reaccreditation process, and also just some information about major event applications. The IOF office at the moment consists of 6 people, and we're working different levels at this point in time. It's kind of a moot point because during the pandemic we haven't been working full time anyhow. But just to give you an idea of who does what, Marlene Food, who works with communications, will actually be on leave. She's on leave now and will be on leave until August 1st, 2021. So we're covering her items with other resources from the office. So then Jorgen Hector is the brand and sales manager, works with World Cup branding and sales, and also with walk sales. At the end of last year, middle of last year, he took over also responsibility as the project manager for the World Orienteering Championships 2021 in Czech Republic. Is working with the SEA team and the organizer, obviously, to work with Walk 2021. That was a cost savings issue that we went through during the pandemic. So Jorgen is working with that. Kirsty McIntyre does anti-doping and office administration, a lot of administrative support to member federations, councils, and commissions, the contact database management, assists with communications, and obviously her key task is still anti-doping management. But Kirsty is a person who takes a lot of contacts from those who are involved in events and commissions and so on. Jenny Nielsen is a sports administrator part-time and works part-time with the project management of World Orienteering Day. So that's kind of her main task, but then she's also the support for the Global Development Commission. She works with general event support, things like ordering medals and diplomas and dealing with that. She also manages the world ranking events, applications through approval and getting them posted in Eventer properly and so on. And she's a support to a number of commissions. So an important person to be in contact with regarding sports administration. David Vestlund is also a sports administrator, primarily focused nowadays on IT system management. So he works with live orienteering, with Eventor, and also supports the IT Commission with its work. And then finally, myself as the Secretary General and CEO, I deal a lot with the let's say, governance issues, including all of the contacts with council, commissions, IOF organization. I deal with all of the external relations that the IOF has with partner organizations. Finance and contracts is in my area. And at the moment, since Marlene is on leave, I kind of have the overall responsibility for communications. And as I put, there are other duties as required. So basically, if you have a question, I can always try to help out in some way, at least to get the question to the right person. Actually, we have all been furloughed during the past year due to the pandemic. I've been working in principle 40% time, and I've been working from home due to the restrictions that are in place here in Sweden and the effects of COVID-19. I try to always be contactable. So sending an email or so, I try to respond as quickly as I can, and kind of, again, we'll send things in the right direction. Just 2 other persons to mention very briefly. They work on a smaller part-time contracts. But first of all, in the WALK project management, as I said previously, we made some changes for 2021. So Jürgen Hector took over the responsibility for WALK 2021 and is working with them. Daniel Leibengut, who had been working with Denmark on WALK 2020, which was then moved to 2022, remains as the project manager from the IOF for WALK 2022, and will complete that task. At that point in time, he'll step down as the IOF project manager. For the organizers from 23 and on, RNLS will, on a voluntary basis right now, maintain project management contacts with the appointed organizers. And we're hoping later this year to have a more long-term solution once we know that the IOF finances allow the reinstatement of the project management position. And then another person who's very key in the organization, although he only does a few hours a week, but he does hours at very important times. And that is Henrik Skoglund, who works as Eventor and live orienteering support. He will assist organizers with configuring their event, making changes in Eventor and so on, and also with any kinds of data support. So if you need reports or if you need information or make changes, things like that, Henrik is the go-to guy. He also supports an accreditation tool, which has been used at the World Orienteering Championships, and is the person to contact regarding that. So that was kind of some information about the organization in the office at the moment. I'll go on to talking about WADA and RUSADA and the arbitration case that was at CAS regarding noncompliance. Some of you who were at the high-level event seminar last year will remember that I held a presentation about the WADA and RUSADA case at that point in time, because RUSADA was declared non-compliant for 4 years by the World Anti-Doping Agency in November of 2019. And in that, this was all due to, of course, everything that has happened in Russia and the cover-up that they were trying to do of anti-doping offenses in Russia. And there were a number of recommendations that WADA was recommending at that point in time that were to be implemented. RUSADA appealed to the Court of Arbitrations for Sport. So that kind of stopped the progress on everything, and we had to wait to see what the decision was. Initially, the idea was that the decision should come in March, and then it was May, then it was October, and finally it became December 2020 before the decision from the Court of Arbitrations for Sport came. And the original full recommendation can be found on the WADA pages. It's kind of a moot point at this point in time, but those of you who remember, basically what it meant was that it only impacted World Championships and the World Games as far as orienteering was concerned. Did not, for example, have anything to do with youth or junior or masters championships. And the other thing is that Russia could not apply for a World Championships in the 4-year period. It was a 4-year suspension that was proposed from WADA. The other thing that was important was that Russian athletes could not participate, or they could participate as neutral athletes, but only if they were cleared. In other words, they had to clear themselves through some testing, anti-doping testing, to be able to do so. And that was quite an administrative procedure that we had started to put in place, which was then stopped. So these things then were considered by the Court of Arbitration for Sport. And in fact, quite a few things were changed in the final decision that came out. So this is the updated information, excuse me, which is actually valid at this point in time for the RUSADA case. So what the Court of Arbitration for Sport considered was that RUSADA would be declared non-compliant for 2 years. That happened on the 17th of December 2020, which means that they're non-compliant until the 16th of December 2022. Also, the CAS ruling included a number of changes from the original recommendations that were published by WADA. If you want to see the details of the ruling, there's a link in the presentation that you'll be able to click into later. So what does the ruling and how does it affect the IOF and organizers? First of all, it only impacts world championships. So it's the world championships in all disciplines that are affected by this. Russia may not organize or apply for world championships in the 2-year period. So we cannot assign or even take an application from Russia during that time. The European championships and all age group championships, so youth, junior, and masters, are not affected. It's business as usual with those. And also, the thing that changed in the dealings were that the World Games and other multi-sport partner events to us are no longer affected by the ruling. So, in other words, the World Games is now excluded from the ruling of and restrictions, and also the FISU, CISM, ISF events that we're a part of are also no longer affected by the restrictions. Russian athletes may participate as neutral athletes in world championships, and they no longer need to be cleared via extra anti-doping testing. So in other words, the requirement for them to prove their innocence, if you will, or to prove they're clean was no longer needed. So they can now, they're clear to participate as neutral athletes at the world championships. In all other events, they can freely participate as participants from Russia, from the Russian Federation. Now, there are some restrictions if they're participating. No Russian flag or anthem can be played in the arenas or the award ceremonies. Athletes shall be designated and accredited as neutral athletes. Athlete clothing and personal items cannot display the flag, national symbols of Russian Federation. And if the word Russia is used on the clothing, it must be accompanied by the text neutral athlete in equal prominence. We in the IOF will manage how the athletes are managed in IOF Eventor, in results list, TV graphics, and so on. And the other thing that applies is that no accreditation can be given to Russian government officials. There are some detailed requirements about that that are given in the ruling. So if you're interested in seeing the very detailed requirements, they're in the ruling that I referenced previously. But in fact, we will do quite a bit here from the IOF office. So just some additional information for those of you who are organizers of world championships in any of the disciplines. We'll be sending out to you detailed instructions regarding the handling at World Championship events. We've already done this for the World Ski Orienteering Championships, and we'll do that for the other championships. Clothing that's to be worn by the Russian neutral athletes needs to be pre-approved by the IOF office. And what we did for the World Ski Or Championships is we asked them to send in actually photos of the uniforms that they would be using. And what they did, as you can see in the photos here, is they actually sent us photographs for each athlete of what they would be wearing, competing, and for the ceremonies and so on, so that we could see that it truly was neutral clothing. In most cases, they just went out and bought new competition and representation clothing. So we'll pre-approve that from the office. WADA requires a report on the participation by Russian neutral athletes. And again, we'll supply that to WADA from the IOF office. There will be some special handling in Eventor so that start list and results list display correctly. And Henrik Skoglund with the Eventor support will assist with this. And then recognize that there will be some special handling if you have a combined event. For example, now we have the World Ski Orienteering Championships where the Russian athletes have to participate as neutral athletes, have to have neutral clothing, and so on and so on. But for the Junior World Ski Orienteering Championships and the European Youth Ski Orienteering Championships, which are being held at the same time, they're free to participate in their normal Russian uniforms, and they're allowed to have the Russian flag at ceremonies and so on. So it can be a bit strange handling, but we need to deal with that when it's a combined event, if that happens. And just, if in doubt, contact either myself or Kirsty, and we can help as much as we can with any requirements or questions that you might have about this as we go forward. The next item to talk about is a little bit about IOF clothing. We do have now a new official IOF clothing partner. It's Sign Sport, and they'll be doing a number of things for us. They have the new new IOF official World Orienteering Day partner, and they'll sell World Orienteering Day clothing through a through sales through their web shop. They will be doing our IOF official representation clothing. Now, in this case, for events and so on, that means SEAs will be provided with some clothing to use in connection with events. They'll also be supplying us with all of the vests that we need for media, TV, things that we use at the events for that. And there will also be a clothing offer for event advisors via their web shop if you want some branded IOF branded event advisor clothing. We're giving them some web visibility as the opposite of this. And then also for those of you who are organizers, there is a few authors. One is that they're willing to work with our organizers on putting together an offer for volunteer clothing and for, say, event merchandise, if that would be of interest. And also, there's an opportunity to sell to them, basically, let's say a display or a sales stand in connection with an event. If you would want to have that they would be willing to come to our events and put up a display or sales stand. But again, there's no requirement for this on organizers. It's really an offer to you. And if you would like to look into that, then contact Jürgen Hector, and he can help you with contacts with SciencePort. There will be kind of a new design of the IOF clothing. Here's a proposed senior event advisor shirt that will be there, and there will be a similar jacket as well. And we're trying to make it so that all of this official clothing will be available via their web shop, so that we don't have handling of it in the IOF office. So shirts, jackets, the World Orienteering Day collection, and so on. And they have a quite efficient web shop to use at the moment. Just a few updates about IT things. First of all, a little bit about live services. Live services, which is a separate page, if you've noted that on the IOF website. It's something that any event can link into the live website, and you can use that at different levels. The live services for WOC and the World Cups in 2021 will, in principle at least, be the same as for past years from an organizer perspective. Same look and feel. We're trying to make live orienteering the main environment for live followers of WOC and World Cups, and it is available for other events to use the page to link to your own pages, or to even build to a certain degree a live page within the context of the IOF live page. Something that's new is that we have a brand new segment on the web page exclusively for the World Cup. The idea is that the overall World Cup will have its own separate page integrated with the live coverage, but it's the main environment for followers of the overall World Cup, so that we kind of get a common page for the World Cup, which is something we've been missing in the past. Some improvements that were made in the end of 2020 is a better usability when you're using it on a phone or a mobile device. And there's also some better support for sponsors and advertisements in the live page. So there's an opportunity for some selling sponsorships and so on that can be available on the live page. And again, I think the best person to talk to about that is Jürgen Hector or David Vestlund, who know what that looks like. So just to think about, we do ask that those of you who want to have a complete live environment on the webpage, that you assign a live services manager. They will work together with the IOF's live services manager, which is either David Vestlund or Henrik Skoglund, depending on what the event is, to coordinate the delivery of all the services so that we make the best of the experience for the user. And just again, please integrate your organizer homepage with Live and World Cup so that we can interlink the two pages together to get a good following from IOF into the web page of the organizer, or vice versa. The other major thing that's going on within the IT environment is that we are in Eventor implementing something called Results 2.0. And basically, Eventor was implemented in 2015 with a very simple result model, as you've seen it. It basically deals with kind of one result list per event. In 2019, we started looking at a new model. The idea was to improve presentation and statistics. For example, to add in the management of medals and titles, and so you have some more information there. Improve the support of multiple results lists. We can have several results lists at one event. For example, the championships can also be a World Cup, and you may need to make separate results lists for that. There may be a need for regional results lists and regional championships versus an overall results list, and so on. We also want to simplify the organizer management. So you only need to upload one, let's say, full results list, and the remainder will be dealt with within Eventor. And then we want Eventor to have a complete record of the historical results. And that needs to be completed. So the status right now is that the new data model is in place. About 50% of the development is done, and we're trying to get the resources allocated with the developer to be able to have a first release in May of 2021. So that's the plan here, and then the second release will be with better statistics and presentation reports and so on. Then we need to, of course, update historic legacy results within this new model, and then develop tools for resulting migration and updates to that. Really, for the organizers, what this means is that in the future, you'll have a much simpler result management. You basically just need to focus on updating one full results list, and the IOF Office or the Eventor, to a large degree, will do automatically. We'll look at connecting the results to the right championships and create the right results lists and medals and title presentation and so on that needs to be done with that. So that's a little bit of information about what's going on there. Again, something that we just wanted to review since we haven't had any events in 2020. And we now are looking at, again, having the possibility to have events in 2021. A little bit about athletes' licenses. Just as a reminder, we're back to, as we say, business as usual. In other words, to participate in a World Championships in any of the disciplines or a World Cup in any of the disciplines, athletes need to have a valid license. They can do that. They can sign up for that via the IOF webpage and via Eventor. We will send out information in advance about the need for the athlete's license, and we send out actually prior to an event, we check that all athletes have a license, and we send out information to them that if they have not completed their license, they need to do so before the championships. So hopefully there should be very few that you have to deal with as an organizer at the event. However, we know from previous history that there have been cases where athletes come to events and have not completed their license. So we do need to ask you at the event office to have in place some printed athlete license forms that athletes that can fill out and sign. Please inform us about last minute signed forms. We'll be communicating with you about which ones we're aware of. But we need to know the IOF ID and the name of the athlete so that we can properly enter that into the Eventor system. And then just collect the forms and either give them to an IOF representative if they're there, or send them by mail to the office so that we have them after the event. As far as payments go, you should not have to accept any payments for athletes' licenses. We ask that all payments should be made via IOF Eventor. And if there is any federation or an athlete who wants to make special arrangements, you don't need to deal with that. You should just ask them to contact the IOF office, and we'll make up whatever special arrangements with them about payment so that we can make sure that that's done properly. But basically, we're trying to minimize the handling that you should have to do regarding to this. And then just a few items about, as we say, event administration. One is about event advisor reaccreditation, which is going on at the moment. So we're in the process of reaccrediting all event advisors in all disciplines for the next period from 21 to 24. And what we have done so far is we've sent out to all current event advisors, those who were registered at the end of 2020, information about checking their profile an eventor to make sure that it's updated. Then there was a Google form that needs to be filled in for the reaccreditation, has been sent out to each of them. And they were to return those by the 31st of September. Or December, I mean. About 80% of them had actually returned them at that point in time. We've gone out with reminders. A few more have reaccredited after that. If you are an EA and haven't seen this, please get in contact with us about it. But we're working on trying to get those who are interested in being reaccredited accredited. So the next step is that actually at the end of this week, a letter has gone out to member federations and information with a list of all of the event advisors who want to be reaccredited, as well as a list of all of the event advisors in that federation who have not answered. In other words, the ones that we have not been able to receive any type of answer from. We have also already sent out prior to that an email regarding the event advisors who have decided not to continue with as event advisors in the next period. And we've been informed the federation about that. We're then asking the federation to endorse the event advisors that want to be reaccredited, and to help us in getting in contact with the ones who have not answered. It could be that they have updated mail addresses and just haven't seen the mail and so on. We hope that the federation might have better contact with them. We have asked the federations to come back to us by the 12th of February with their answers on reaccreditation so that we can quickly get the reaccreditation process completed. And from this point, then, after the 12th of February, the IOF office will update all of the event advisors in IOF Eventor. We will update the emailing list that we have for event advisors for sending out of information, newsletters, so on. And then we will also update the list that is on the IOF webpage with current event advisors. So this should be processed during February into March maybe, but hopefully at the beginning of the year, this should all be completed. Then the final item that I have just to bring up is a little bit about major event applications. There are a number of events that we have chosen to, by council decision, extend the application period for because we had not received applications by the end of the current period, which was the 1st of January 2021. So for these events, we've extended the application period to the 31st of March. So these are events that if you're interested in, or if you want to send a tip or to someone else about them, these are events that are currently available to be applied for from the IOF. And this is the list of events. The regional events, the North American and the Asians, actually we normally deal with directly with the regional working groups. So maybe not be so concerned about those. But there is, for example, in 2023, a Mountain Bike World Cup event, which is not currently applied for. There are a number of SKIO events in 2023 that we need to get applications for. There's a Trailo event, the Trailo World Championships in 2023 and the Trailo World Championships in 2024 have not been applied for. Jaywalk, the Fudo Jaywalk in 2024, we did not receive any applications by the beginning of January. I can inform we have now received one application after that, but the application period remains open until the end of March in case there are other organizers and federations that would like to apply for that. And then there's also a Mountain Bike World Cup event in 2024 and the SKIO World Championships in 2024 and the European Trailo Championships in 2024. So many of our events are covered and are assigned already, appointed already, but these are the events that still are open. So if you do have any ideas and would like to work with them, or if you have organizers you think would be appropriate for the one of them, please let them know that the application period is still open. And with that, that's the end of my information from the office, and I'll open it up for questions and comments.